the reason for him to wake up and he has not taken the Shahada yet? While Muslims, a lot of Muslims are asleep, they miss the Fajr. That's the light that Allah put in the heart of whoever He guided. And that will change your life. And that's the biggest example of how Allah can change your life. As long as you have the true intention that you want to be guided, Allah will not misguide you. If you come to Allah and ask Him, oh Allah, guide me to the truth and guide me to you and keep me firm on this path, I swear to you, if you are sincere with the right intention, Allah will, with the sound heart, Allah will not turn you down. And that's why he woke up and he came to the Fajr this morning to take the Shahada. That's one point. The second point is for the Muslims youth here. One of the most important reasons for him to accept Islam was being around Muslims and seeing how the Muslims are behaving and acting. When they time for the prayers, we have to leave everything and go pray. The non-Muslims don't understand that. But they will be impressed by you. They will say, that's really unique, that's really something special. When they see you standing in the middle of the street, in the mall, or in the airport, or on the plane, and you are praying, they will be shocked. Why cannot wait? Why they cannot wait till they land or they can go home and pray? But you are making da'wah, you are inviting people to the Islam without even you realizing you are inviting people to Islam. If you have the true intention, you will be rewarded for that. You will be rewarded for that behavior. So remember, it's a big responsibility on you, because just the same way that a lot of non-Muslims turn to Islam because being around Muslims, some non-Muslims are turned away from the Islam because of Muslims. I'll say this one more time. Just the same way that a lot of non-Muslims turn into Islam because of the behavior of the Muslims around them, a lot of non-Muslims turn away from Islam because of the behavior of the Muslims around them. So your behavior, the way you talk, the way you react, your manners, your akhlaq, your reaction, your ibadat, your praying, everything you're doing could be a source of invitation you are doing to the deen of Allah, to the Islam, without even you realizing. So that's a big responsibility. Can you imagine if you are the one who turning someone away from the Muslim because you lied, because you cheat, because you have bad manners, because no one trusts you, because no one likes you? Can you imagine if they say, oh, he's a Muslim, I cannot stand him, I hate him, and I hate the religion he carries with him? Then you are the reason, you are the mean for that person to turn away. So you are, most of you go to public school or private school, but non-Muslim school I meant. So you have double responsibilities. Double. In the masjid, you have some responsibility. But when you go to non-Muslim school and you spread that deen through your behavior, you have a huge trust on your shoulders. And if you have the right intention and you do the right thing, you will be rewarded for that trust. Like the last question I have before we start. I asked him to take the Shahada first, and then I asked him the questions of why he became a Muslim. Why I did not ask him first, why you want to be a Muslim before he took the Shahada? Was there a specific reason why I had him to take the Shahada first and then ask him the question, rather than ask him the question and then telling him to take the Shahada? What? Not delay him from taking the Shahada, because everyone might die at any moment and we want him to be Muslim. But there's another reason. Jihad. Barakallah bik. So to get more rewards for him, because when he answered the question, he's making da'wah, he's spreading the deen of Allah, he's inviting people. He was online, so maybe a non-Muslim brother or non-Muslim person will see him and his heart will be touched by what he said, and he start looking into Islam and become a Muslim. The reason for that person to turn into Islam is because of him. That is in righteous act that he will be rewarded for. So why did I ask him to take the Shahada before he answered the question? And I really want him to take the Shahada before the pray Fajr. Why? Because I changed my mind. But there is something very important, that I want him to take the Shahada before he answered the question. And even I want him to take the Shahada before pray Fajr. Because your rewards of any act will not be You will not get that reward if it's not based on being Muslim. If you're not Muslim, whatever good you do, you will not be rewarded because it's not based on the foundation. Our religion has a foundation, and this foundation is the Shahada, is to declare that only Allah is worth to be worshipped, and His Prophet is the messenger, the last messenger, that I submit myself to Allah and I will follow the Prophet to the end of my life. That declaration, that Shahada, that testament is the foundation. Without that foundation, you will not get anything from anything you do in life. Yani non-Muslim, there are many good non-Muslim, they do so many good things, but they will not be rewarded for what they are doing because they're missing the foundation. It's like a huge building, you're building up, but the foundation, the base is so shaky, it's broken. So it's kind of collapsed at one point, and you're not going to gain anything from that rewards. But Allah is fair, Allah is just. So He will reward those people in the dunya, in this life. But after their death, on the day of judgment, they have nothing with Allah. There is no rewards for what they have done. Because the two conditions for any deed to be accepted, what are the two conditions? Yeah. The two conditions. Intention, or more specific than intention, to be sincerity. Barakallahu bik. Your intention to be only for the sake of Allah. You're doing it for the sake of Allah. And that's Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. When you declare there is no God worthy to be worshipped except Allah, you're saying my intention is only for the sake of Allah. So Allah will not accept any of your prayers or fasting or anything if it's not based on intention, sincerity, that you're doing it for the sake of Allah. I'm not doing this for this dunya, I'm not doing this to make Zayd happy, I'm not doing this to be proud of myself or show off with myself, I'm doing it for the sake of Allah. So that's one condition. Whenever you have something combined with that intention, your rewards start getting down and might be completely gone. Because you share your intention to Allah with something else. What's the second condition?
Not to do it again.
Of course, you Muslim. No, we're talking to accept, for Allah to accept your righteous deed, to have sincerity, and to. Huh? That's the intention, right? Your intention is to get rewards from Allah. That's the intention. That first condition. The second one. Huh? This is very important. Your deeds will not be accepted except two conditions. Intention to be for the sake of God, for Allah, sincerity. And the second one? Al-Mutaba'a, which means that you are following the Prophet ﷺ in performing that deed. You are not coming up with the new things that no one heard of or no one created before you. So if we want to understand the Shahada, when you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, I bear witness there's no one worthy to be worshipped, you are declaring that all my life is for the sake of Allah. That's intention, that's sincerity. And that's one of the conditions for your deeds to be accepted. The second thing is to declare that the Prophet Muhammad is your Prophet, meaning that your ibadat, your life will be following the Prophet Muhammad. You are not coming up with a new thing that no one heard of. You cannot say, oh, I'm going to create a new prayer, or I'm going to create a new way of fasting. I want to fast from Maghrib to Fajr. It's easier, I'll be asleep. That will not be accepted. So the two conditions of any righteous deed to be accepted is based on Shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And if we don't do those two conditions, your deeds will not be accepted. So what are the two conditions here? Yeah. There's only one answer. The sincerity.
And intention. Like, like this is together, sincerity,
And what's the second one?
And like doing the action, like correctly, like according to the Prophet.
To be following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like, inshallah, today we will be finishing the chapter we started a few weeks ago, and this chapter is about how we are required to increase our ibadat or our worship to God as we get older. And we said that what's the age limit for that getting older? Some said 60. When you are 60, then you have to invest your time and your life getting closer and closer, because now you are getting closer and closer to the finish line. So you have to invest more of your time and put more effort to come closer to God, to Allah, and to worship Him in a way that he will be pleased with. Some said the age, the limit or the cutoff is not 60, it's 40. And some of them said it's when you reach puberty. That's when you start investing and putting more time and more effort to come closer to Allah. So the main point of this chapter, Ya Umar, is that I want you to plan. When I reach 40, I'm gonna do something that different, something that can bring me closer. I'm gonna do it from now, but when I get 40, I wanted to do even more. And when I get 60, I'm gonna do even more and more. My retirement will be all about investment in coming closer to Allah. And from now we can start planning, what do I need to do to get to that point? There are maybe two more hadith. We'll go over them very quickly inshallah, and then we'll move to the next chapter. So the first hadith عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال أن الله عز وجل تابع الوحي على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قبل وفاته حتى توفي أكثر ما كان للوحي متفق عليه.
Anas radiallahu anhu said, Allah, the Rabb of honor and glory, sent revelations to his messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, more frequently before his death than at any other time.
So here this hadith is a clear example of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. As he was getting older, the wahi, when Allah revealing to his Prophet, got what? Less or more? More. And that's what we are saying that as you get older, your relationship will be stronger with Allah. Your preparation for that finish line will be more intense, and you put more time and effort to that. And you need to start planning from now. Just the same way we start planning for, in this culture, the Western culture, they tell you that as you get older, you need to plan for retirement. So you put more money aside, and you start thinking about what I'm going to spend my last few years of life. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go these places. I wanted to do this. I want to enjoy myself. I wanted to go. You plan. You spend so much time for the next 10 years when you reach the retirement age, 10 years, and you have saved all this money, all this life for that moment to retire. And you throw a big party, and you have so much, you're so happy you retired. And you don't realize you are at the end. For me, I look at retirement as the end. Because what's next? What comes after retirement? Death. Khalas, your life is... So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you a blessing, which is He give you time and life to live on this earth. And He gave you the blessing of sending warnings to you that your life is getting closer and closer to the end. And when someone dies at least 20, I understand he did not take advantage of his life because he was 20 and he was busy, distracted with studying, school and everything. But when you are 40, and 50 and 60, and Allah sends you message after message, you find your health getting declining, you find the gray hairs getting more and more in your head and your beard, you find your heart, your lungs, everything is not the same, your whole life is changing, your strength is declining. All of these are warning messages. Wake up, it's time, you are close to that end, you never know when it's going to happen, so be prepared. And that's what we learn from this hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, even in Ramadan. In Ramadan, Jibreel used to come to the Prophet and review the Quran with the Prophet every Ramadan. How many times? Once a year. Except, how many times he reviewed with the last year? 2. Everything you hear from the act and the sunnah of the Prophet, you realize that it got a lot more as the life of the Prophet gets to the end. And that's what the ayah of إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ, if you realize your life is coming to end, فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. Do a lot of dhikr, remembering Allah as you are getting close. The last hadith, and this hadith, wallahi, is the most important hadith, and I want the youth to listen to this hadith and memorize it. Memorize it. Keep it in front of your eyes, keep it in your heart, keep it always in your mind, because it's one of the most powerful hadith that you will hear, at least for me. الحديث عن جابر رضي الله عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يبعث كل عبد على ما مات عليه. Wallahi, it's so scary and so powerful. Yeah, let's go. Jabir.
Jabir radiallahu anhu said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, everyone will be raised in the condition in which he dies.
Everyone will be raised on the day of the Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day of the judgment, will be raised based on the action you are doing. So if you're doing good, you will be raised on the day of the judgment doing that good thing. And if you're doing something not good, you will be raised on the day of the judgment doing that haram. And look at this hadith. And this hadith, like I said, you should keep it in your heart and in front of you, in your eyes, because every time you think you might be doing something haram, the question comes, what if I die doing that haram? And shaitan's gonna tell you, oh, it's okay, you can make tawbah, you can make istighfar. Don't worry, you can look at this haram thing, you can listen to that haram thing, you can say that haram word. You can do all this haram, and then you can say, oh, Allah forgive me, astaghfirullah, and then khalas, Allah will forgive you. But the question is, what if I die before I have time to ask Allah for forgiveness? That hadith brings the fear of Allah to our hearts. Because our religion is based on love of Allah and fear, and that's how we will be disciplined. You cannot be disciplined if you don't have the fear of Allah. And you cannot be a good slave of Allah if you don't love Allah because He's your master. So our religion is based on both fear and love, fear and trust in Allah. So we don't go to the extremes, we are in the middle. You find a lot of Christians, they worship their God, their Lord, based on love. Jesus, love. And they do all kinds of haram. They don't care. Why? Because they have no fear of Allah. They don't have fear of the punishment of the grave. They don't have fear of the day of judgment. They don't have fear of the hellfire. Because if they had that fear, they would not have done that haram. We are different because we have that fear of Allah. And that fear, one of the most weapon we can use to protect us from falling into haram. When your nafs, when your shaitan, when your temptation is pushing you to do something haram, remember, what if I die on that act of a haram? When you die for the sake of Allah, you will be coming back on the day of the judgment as your blood will be, you're coming up with a blood that has the smell of the perfume, the musk. And people will know that you are a person who died for the sake of Allah. If you die while you are performing Hajj, you come back and you are doing talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. You will be raised on the day of the judgment based on what you are doing. So think twice before you do anything that might not be right for you. That's not righteous, because you never know. Sounds good? Okay. Inshallah, we will start with the next chapter, and this next chapter is talking about kathratu turuq al-khayr, numerous ways of doing good. And that's a great topic for our brother Noah, because now we can learn what kind of good deeds I can get closer to Allah by doing it. So this chapter of ahadith, and it's a very long chapter. I think there's a lot of ahadith in that chapters that talk about things that Allah will be pleased to see from you, and you will get closer to Allah. Shuf how the Imam al-Nawawi rahimahullah, when he put all this ahadith, he put them in orders. He told you that as you get older, you need to put more time and effort getting closer to Allah. But we understood this. We are getting to plan to get closer to Allah. How do I get closer to Allah? The next chapter telling you about so many examples, practical examples of things you can do to get closer to Allah. I'm not talking about prayers. I'm not talking about fasting. I'm not talking about zakat. I'm not talking about hajj. Those are basic, and we all know them. The next step is what extra things I can do to get closer to Allah. And we will learn a lot, inshallah, in this hadith. The first part of the hadith, we read a couple of ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ وَمَا تَفْعَلُ مِنْ خَيْرٍ يَعْلَمُ اللَّهُ فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ مَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فَلِنَفْسِهِ. So there are a couple of ayat, verses from the Quran, that talk about that point of what are things we can do to get closer to Allah, and then we will go over some of this hadith that talk about examples of things that Allah would love to see from us doing. As I said, I'm not talking about the basic, I'm not talking about the obligations, because we all know, inshallah, we're all doing the obligations. things that extra that we can do that get us closer to Allah, and you will see how easy those extra things to do. It doesn't require a lot of time, doesn't require a lot of effort. You will see this hadith talking about things so easy to do, but the only way to do it, if you know that these things will be pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So go ahead and read some of this ayah.
Allah the Exalted says, and whatever you do of good deeds, truly Allah knows it well. And whatever good you do, be sure Allah knows it. So whoever does good equal to the weight of an atom or a small ant, he shall see it, or he/she shall see it. Whoever does a good deed, it is for his own self.
So, why do you think that he mentioned this ayah, this verses in this chapter about the so many ways to do righteous deed? Okay, but what's the ayah talking about? Can you tell me?
Allah knows the good deed.
Okay, what Allah said, read the ayah one more time and let's reflect on this ayah. What Allah said here. Read it slowly. Whatever you do of good deeds, truly,
Allah knows it all.
so what the connection between this ayah and the topic of the chapter? What's the word here that refers to there's so many things you can do that get you closer to Allah? Whatever. من خير نكرة في سياق نفي وما تفعل من خير. Every time you have نكرة في سياق نفي تدل على العموم, which means that everything you do of righteous deed, Allah knows and Allah will reward you for it. And that tells you how there are so many ways of doing that khair. There is not one way or two ways or three ways, there are so many ways. Whatever of righteous deed you do, it will be rewarded for, you will be rewarded for in the day of judgment. My brothers, listen, this chapter is so important because it talks about things that are easy to do, that does not take too much time, does not take too much effort, that you can do it without worrying too much about it, and you will be rewarded for it on the day of judgment. I'm not saying waking up at 3 in the morning. I'm not saying to stay fast every other day. Simple things that we can learn today, inshallah, that Allah would love to see from us, and you will be rewarded. And Allah will reward you on based on what you're doing. So let's start with the first hadith, and let's look at some of these deeds that Allah will be pleased to see from us, and they don't need a lot of work and effort. عن أبي ذر جندب بن جنادة رضي الله عنه قال قلت يا رسول الله أي الأعمال أفضل؟ قال الإيمان بالله والجهاد في سبيله. قلت أي الرقاب أفضل؟ قال أنفسها عند أهلها وأكثرها ثمنا. قلت فإن نفعل؟ قال تعين صانعا أو تصنع لأخرى. قال قلت يا رسول الله أرأيت إن ضعفت عن بعض العمل؟ قال تكف شرك عن الناس فإنها صدقة منك على نفسك. متفق عليه.
Abu Dhahar reported, radiallahu anhu, I asked, O Messenger of Allah, which action is the best? He sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, faith in Allah and jihad in the way of Allah. I asked, which slave is best for emancipation? He said, that which is dearest to them in price and most valuable to its master. I asked, if I cannot afford it, he said, then help a laborer or work for one who is disabled. I asked, if I cannot do it, he said, you should restrain yourself from doing wrong to people, because it serves as charity which you bestow upon yourself.
So let's go over the hadith very quickly. The man came to the Prophet Junada, and he told him which is the best of the righteous deed. He said, Al-Iman billah wal jihad fi sabili. The best thing is to have jihad, fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's based on Iman. So like we said, any righteous deed not based on the foundation of the Islam will not be accepted. When we say fighting for the sake of Allah, what are some examples that you can tell me that will be part of fighting for the sake of Allah? I'll give you one. Like the brothers in Palestine. They're fighting for the sake of Allah. They're fighting for the sake of keeping the Islam in this land and establishing the Islam in this land, which is their land, and they are willing to give up their blood, their life, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's Allah to make it easy on them. That's one of the best righteous deeds. What other examples of fighting for the sake of Allah? Bilmal. You spend for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's another way of fighting. We just heard the ayah لا يستوي القاعدون من المؤمنين غير أولي الضرر والمجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالهم وأنفسهم. With your money and with your life. So if you cannot fight for the sake of Allah with your life, then at least be sure that you are spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can find a way to help the brothers in Palestine, that's one of the greatest ibadah that you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through, by sending the money to the brothers in Palestine who are dying because of lack of food and starvation. So that's one of the best deeds. But other examples of fighting for the sake of Allah.
Fighting your desires.
Barakallahu fik, yes, yeah. Fighting your desires and your temptation. Jihad al-nafs. That when your body, your temptation tell you to do something haram, and you say, no, you know what? I'm scared of Allah. I'm scared to die, and I will be raised on the day of judgment doing that haram. So I'm going to stay away from that. Controlling yourself, controlling your temptation is a jihad for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, that's hard. As if you can tell from the hadith that the companion told him, okay, jihad is hard. What's next? He said, فَأَيُّ الرِّقَابِ أَفْضَلُ. So let's do about something else. What's the best sadaqah? In the past, they used to have slaves, and the Islam came to free the slaves. To free the slaves. So he said, which slave that I can free will be the best slave that Allah will be pleased to see? He said, أَنفَسُهَا عِنْدَ أَهْلِهَا. The most precious slave, the most expensive slave that you spend, you free for the sake of Allah, you put more money, it will be more rewards for you, inshallah. Finish the hadith, inshallah, and we finish. He said, أَنفَسُهَا عِنْدَ أَهْلِهَا وَأَكْثَرُهَا ثَمَنًا. The slave that is more expensive, you put all that money to free that slave, will be more rewards for Allah. So remember, your rewards of spending money for the sake is based on how much you own. And if you have $10,000 and you spend $1, and if you have $2 and you spend $1, they are not the same. It's a percentage of how much you own. So here he said that the slave that's most expensive, and you put that money in that to free the slave, it will be one of the greatest sadaqah for the sake of Allah. He said, if I don't want to do that, give me something easier. So we went from jihad to freeing a slave. He said, give me something easier. What did he say? He said, تُعِينُ صَانِعًا أَوْ تَصْنَعُ لِأَخْرَى. What does mean? You help your Muslim brother. How easier can this get? Is to help. You find someone struggling with his work, with his studying, for example, with anything he's doing, and you come and you help him. تُعِينُ صَانِعًا. That's a righteous deed. And that's something that you will be rewarded for on the day of judgment. When you come and you help your brother who's having problem or challenges, it's a righteous deed. It's based on your intention. If you have the right intention, you will be rewarded for this. Or if someone who cannot do anything, and you come and help him, disabled, and you come to help him, you will be rewarded. He said, Ya Rasulullah, give me something easier. As if the hadith telling you that this is still too much to do. Give me something easier. And that shows you how there's so many ways of getting closer to Allah. Not only jihad and freeing slaves and just helping people, helping an elderly person to get up from the floor when it's time to pray. That's a reward. That's a righteous deed. You get closer to Allah. When you are in a public transportation and you find an elderly person and you stand up to help him or help her to sit down, that's a righteous deed. If you have the right intention, you will be rewarded for it. If you have the right intention, how easy I can get from this. The man told the Sahabi, told Rasulullah, give me something easier. What if look what he said. He said, in the I'm so tired or weak that I cannot do that. I cannot help anyone, or I cannot support anyone. He said, like you don't oppress a Muslim brother and any person around you. When you are holding back oppressing someone around you is a righteous deed. And you will be rewarded for this. Like, this is not an act, this is you holding back the bad temptation that you have toward you. For example, someone said a word to you, you get very offended. You want to get back to him. You want to say something to hurt him just the way he hurt you. And you say, what? I'm gonna control myself. أكف شري عن الناس. And I'm not gonna let it bother me. I'm gonna forgive him. That's a righteous deed. And you will get rewards for that. So, when we are together here and we are controlling ourselves and our temptation from hurting each other, you will be rewarded. That will be righteous deed if it's based on the right intention. فإنها صدقة منك على نفسك. It will be a charity for you if you just hold that evil act from doing it to your Muslim brother or any person around you. This chapter, inshallah, we will go over some of these ahadith that give us so many examples of what are righteous deeds we can do to get closer to Allah. Today we learned about two things. The first one is to help someone. To help someone that he's struggling is a righteous deed with the right intention. And holding back an evil act to oppress your brother, even if he hurt you, even if he hit you, even if he says something not nice, you hold back, is a righteous deed. You will be rewarded. And there are so many examples more to come, inshallah, in this chapter about righteous deed that we can get. What's the difference? Is that now we get the knowledge. We know that these are righteous deeds, so we can worship Allah based on knowledge. And that's the best thing about our religion, is you worship Allah based on that knowledge. You don't base your Allah based on what you think is right, based on the knowledge that Allah and His Prophet gave us for this life. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.